Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Today we are going to be debating the side hustle. Can you be successful with a side hustle? Can you be successful as a team that has side hustles?
And if you know anything about me, you know what side I'm going to be on.
Let's find our edge. That always starts with the affirmation, I don't wait for permission or perfect timing. If I believe in it, I build it. 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. The question of the day, are side hustles a distraction or a tool for success?
Ooh, it's so funny because I love that this is a generation conversation a little
Very
bit.
generation.
And I love that about this show is that we really do get a lot of different viewpoints, I guess, from the different
I will
generations.
say it's one of the things that everybody says about it, is that they love the different points that we all attack it from.
And we are competitive, so we enjoy
Everybody has to
saying
be
it.
right.
But if for those of you who don't know me, I do run a side hustle. I work for On the Ball from, I would call it, every hour that I'm not working on my side hustle, right? But I do. I run a personal training business. I run Get Jaked, and I have about 8 clients that I personally train. I will be the first to say, and I'll be honest up front, it's hard.
Right.
It's hard to balance the focus and the drive of building both. Mm-hmm. And I think you can run both, but I don't think you can grow 2 things at the same time.
That's a great answer.
So
a great
here's some
answer.
historical perspective. Back in the day, if I smelled that somebody had a side hustle, I would confront them and say, you got to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because you can't focus, where focus goes, energy flows. You can't focus on 2 things. Can't climb 2 mountains at the same time.
Is that
to your point.
Is that a sales dominated thing, or can
I
you
think
work in?
it's-
Because at the time you were running, I think a massive company,
Massive,
right? Was majority sales.
It's also a different
We
time.
were a sales organization, but the tools that exist today were not available then. So, yours is still a physical, I need to be in a space and still do that. But there's lots of people who have Amazon stores and, they have other things that they can do.
So let me speak directly to that.
So a hobby, can turn out to be a side hustle.
Well, so any
Right.
side revenue stream is a side hustle,
Right.
and 39% of U.S. adults
What?
report having a side hustle. That means 80 million American adults have a side hustle. On average, those side hustles produce $849 a month. Right?
How much?
So on average, $849 a month.
Like, what's the point?
So less than $1,000 bucks.
smashed that. Let's go.
Well, so I think this speaks to a bigger picture, which is there's a lot of people who work and don't like what they do. There's a lot of people who are in a job that they don't like what they do, and so their passion and their joy really come from the side hustle that maybe only provides them a couple extra $100 a month, but allows them to do something they're passionate about, allows them to make money doing it. And oh, by the way, we also live in a world now where there's a lot of jobs that don't provide you enough income to survive.
I was gonna say, is this
You
is,
have to
is
have
this
a side
result?
hustle in order to be able to survive.
I was about to say,
Well, and you think $849 is going to make a difference?
For some people,
for a
it
lot
does.
of
Okay.
people,
For some people, it
I
does.
think $800 is a lot of money for.
Look at the
average.
conversation we were in
perspective.
last night at dinner.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Look at the
yes.
conversation. So
And that
we
was the
were in a
conversation.
conversation with a family.
That's somebody
right?
very well
Somebody
off,
who
too.
we
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Their housekeeper, right, wanted $5 extra per visit. $5, right? Like that was the ask.
Yeah.
Like
And
I
he
need
was like, I'm not
$5
doing
more
it. Principle,
dollars.
He wasn't doing it. Right?
Like
Said
that's
no?
not- that's a whole nother
He said
conversation.
no?
Oh, dude,
well,
it was-
it's principle and it's a conversation.
it
We're
was
not going to
great.
sidetrack
Yeah,
this
we're not gonna
episode
get-
with
wow.
that. We're not going to sidetrack the
But you do
episode
bring
with
up
that.
a good point. When it's driven by the economics,
The need for
the
dollars.
need for
Well,
it.
so let's just
But
talk
you
about
cannot
it.
serve 2 masters.
You can't serve 2 masters.
I just don't believe it.
Right?
I mean, everything I've done in my career, I was all in.
Is it?
I wasn't all in. Now, you're doing what you're doing, but you do it on bookends.
But I have a question.
You don't, yeah.
I have a question. Does the side hustle? I think it has to be entrepreneurial, right? Like you have to be doing it on your own. Like I would have a hard time.
Two jobs,
right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like you can't report to two. Can you?
You could. So there's lots. There's lots of bartenders.
Right.
There's lots of hospitality people.
Teachers.
That
wait.
teachers who work
There are professions that you work 2 days on, 2 days off.
Right.
Firemen generally are known for a side hustle. They can do something else if it fits into their schedule.
Josh Darrow. We met with Josh last night. Josh is the voice of the Hurricanes, but also has a sales job. Right. The side is two jobs, two masters,
one doesn't
if you will.
interfere because of the schedule. His job as
they don't interfere with each other.
Sideline reporter, whatever. They don't interfere.
And he has the time to do it. Or he can make the time to do it, right? Like I can tell you as a father and a husband and somebody who wants to be involved in like rec league stuff, like I don't have a whole lot of spare time to feed a side hustle. This has got to be my thing.
It's funny, and I've been through it this year a lot as On the Ball has grown tremendously in the last 5 months, and obviously my focus has been majority on the Ball and growing it and on working, you know.
When it comes from more money, it's like what was that majority bullshit, man?
You know, but to not derail my thoughts.
Sorry,
no, you're good. I think it's hard to build, right? Like when you're working on the business, not in the business, right? Like working on it, my focus wasn't thinking about the side hustle in those spare times, if that makes sense.
Yes.
In my thinking time. And so I found that I wasn't as present, and this is personally, with my clients.
Right.
Because I was so exhausted from trying to build this and focusing on my roles here. And that was my biggest struggle, was not that I couldn't do it, but that I wasn't the best at both. And I couldn't. And that really kind of affected me, and then the rewiring of how I prioritize was hard. It is hard.
I love
so
that
you can't be you can't be great at both. You can't, right? There can only be one main. Right. It's called the side hustle for a reason, right? And I will tell you, as the employer of you, the side hustle is get jaked. Yeah. And if as the employer I would ever feel that get jaked was the priority for you, there would have to be a conversation. I was having today. Good for you if that's what you want to do, but now it's hurting your performance here, or we're feeling that here. We're not going to allow that. And so I think it's not about time. I could care less if you were to dip out at 2:00 to go train a client, as long as the job was getting done.
Managing results and not time, which we can do. There's a job that you do it
every
very
job
well.
can.
You do it at a very high level. But to me, it's very much like multitasking. Whoever teaches people that it's okay to multitask is bullshit. You end up doing two things less than.
Half-assed.
It just doesn't work. So it comes back to how do you manage your calendar?
Right.
And if you can be totally focused on your clients when you're with them, and it does not take away from what your responsibility is on the ball, then.
But I think it's interesting because I don't have a family.
Right.
Like I'm
you have all your time.
You're
responsible for all your time.
Right. Family business.
I don't have kids. I don't have kids. I don't have wives.
You're not married, and you don't have kids. You don't have dependents or responsibilities.
Those are freaking side hustles, though.
Right.
I genuinely mean that. Like, if
They
you
are
are a
side
mom
hustles.
or you are a dad who is very active in the raising and want a conducive.
If Gabby happens to listen to this episode, they're not side hustles; they're the main hustle.
Right. But still, that's the
Family's the main hustle,
right? You know, and in 2025, no company is going to stand in the way of that.
Well, I feel really bad for you that you don't have a family.
But that brings up a good point, though. So listen, right? Like the idea that you could be successful with a side hustle, assuming that you are skilled enough to be able to compartmentalize yourself and truly send attention and focus in those areas when you decide that time, and you don't have anything else that's going to deter your attention and energy from those things. Like there's only so much time in a day. You can't be everything to everybody, and you certainly can't be everything to everybody all the time. So I think it was President Obama who was on the Pivot podcast who talked about his relationship with Michelle and them coming up and saying like, look, you can't have everything all the time. There's going to be seasons in your life that certain things have to take priority. And sometimes the family takes a back seat for the career. Sometimes the career takes the back seat for the family. But you need to be in lockstep with the people that are around you, that's what's happening, because you can't be super dad and super CEO and super self all at the same time. It's impossible.
Warren Buffett said that. He said, you can have everything you want in your life. You just can't have it at the same time.
Right.
I think, we say it in all of our trainings. Like, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You just can't do everything.
All the
If you think back when I was a kid that took guitar lessons, the guy that was giving me guitar lessons, that wasn't his full-time gig. He could have been a teacher, and he did this in the afternoon.
Right.
He was a music teacher that did it, when school was out. So I think time is a big factor.
I want to ask this. Do you have to tell your employer you're doing
that is a wonderful question.
I say yes.
I say full disclosure will always serve you well.
Transparency.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Transparency and candor is a must in any relationship.
If I got to find out, like, your performance is off and I can't figure it out, and then I figure out you have a side gig, it's not going to end well.
Or even not. Even if your performance is fine, but I find out you have a passion
that you
on
don't
the
want to tell me
side
about.
that you haven't shared with me.
I love that
What's
angle.
the obstacle
I love
here?
that angle.
What
Why
else are you hiding
enough?
from me
Why
then?
are we not
Right.
close enough that this is something like, hey, on the side I'm doing this is really
Right.
cool.
And like, I'm not saying like if you're
so
Bill
passionate,
Gates, you
yeah.
got to know every side
this is
hustle.
I'm saying a small a little bit of a small scale, of course.
I just think in general, in terms of team, right? Like, you want to know that you have that kind of transparency and openness, and open door policy, if you will, that things can be discussed. You might not agree on everything, and it might not be accepted, but you feel comfortable enough to walk in and share it and have a discussion. I think that's a must. I think if you're in a
I want you
place,
to look at it from the other lens, though. When performance is off, you have an obligation. You work. Somebody's working for you.
Yeah.
They've committed to doing the job. They're not doing it, and you find out that they're focused on something else.
yeah.
That's stealing. That was my contention all along.
1,000%. You're letting the team down. You're letting the team down.
So
Like, being in sales is not an hourly
I love
job.
these. I love these questions. So, like, you work hypothetically, you work a 9 to 5,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Is it anybody's business what I do outside of that?
No, I don't.
At all?
I don't think it is.
Well, who I date, what I do for fun, and I understand. I agree with you. Like, I would love the culture to be that it's very open, and like we have personal wins, we have work wins. Like, we are very open, and it makes us a better company to operate that way. But it is also, from a leader's perspective or the human's perspective, none of your business what I do.
So
outside.
I'm gonna challenge that fully, and I think this could be another episode. We as a society have separated our professional lives from our personal lives, and that's not realistic. And it's actually what causes people internal strife, is trying to figure out how to balance one person and the other person when you are one person. So for me, if you work a 9 to 5, I don't care what the 9 to 5 is, I don't care what your job is, you're a person. And as a person who's on my team, I need to know about the person, not just the person who's here to work, but the person who is here. Because everything that's going to happen outside of that 9 to 5 is going to affect the 9 to 5 somehow, some way. It's going to affect who you are as a person.
That's
and
fair.
I need to know that.
Whatever's happening
really
in the
fair.
office, you bring home, and whatever's at home, you bring to the office.
You are one
So,
person.
right.
It's nice to think that we could put ourselves into boxes and perfectly compartmentalize. That's not
But
reality.
staying on this one thing, if you get hired and you have a commitment to be the best you can be at this thing,
You
what
can have a
committed-
side hustle, but it needs to be minimal and it needs to be communicated.
So it needs to be minimal and communicated.
Yeah.
It needs to be
Because
heavily.
people have hobbies.
It needs to be
Those are side hustles.
It needs to be heavily structured.
Yeah.
Like, your systems and processes for both jobs have to be really concrete.
Yep.
You will feel overwhelmed, and if you don't, kudos to you.
And they can't compete with each other.
Yeah.
You can't be taking business
Monetarily.
You can't be competing with the business you are in with your side business because there's a real conflict of interest and loyalty.
Have you ever had a service guy in your house and he goes, "Here's my card."
Right. I also do this, and this.
Like you hire a guy to do like your marketing, or for example, and then he just looks at all the clients that you're working with and goes, "I could just do it for less."
Which is how most people open the business.
Open their firm is they take it, they steal the clients, and so there is that little dynamic. But I think in today's world, it's not about whether you're going to have one or not more now.
It's going to be.
It's what it's going to be, how you structure it in order to be successful in both.
It's a thing.
Yeah, because you will lose both.
Well,
I think that's the scary reality.
Yeah.
You can't lose.
You go back to zero fast.
You go
back to zero fast.
1 to 2, back to 0. No
well,
shit.
The other thing is that there's a lot of people who start a side hustle and it becomes their thing.
And that's good for them.
I think
if you can really get it there, but it can't.
It's really hard as an employer to know that you're vulnerable to that. I'm just being.
Well,
it's like I spent the time training you, building you, doing, and then I lost you.
So then let's leave it on this, right? Is in a world where side hustles are almost 40%.
Wow.
You're getting close to half where they're side hustles.
It's unbelievable.
As an employer and as an employee, the conversation of not, I'm gonna shout out to Seth Godin, the conversation of not what can I get out of you, but how can I help you get to where you want to go is the question that needs to be had. You need to be very clear on where you want to go, and the conversation needs to be had in the employment setting. Where do you want to go, and is it possible for us to help you get there, and are we on board with doing that?
And I think part of the solution, because I did this way back, was salary is where it gets funky. If you're not a salaried employee, you do whatever you want.
One more thing I want to touch on that is really complicated when you have a side hustle is your story and the way you weave and you talk to people.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It is a mental gymnastics.
Who leads? How do you start?
What
are you?
You're trying to dissect really quickly who
really
they are
good,
and what you lead
Really
with.
good.
So another main point, and maybe we will do an episode on this, is Jules, my son, had in his preschool had
Thank God somebody has family.
what you want to be when you grow up, right? What you want to be when you grow up. I've changed the language in our house. We don't ask him what he wants to be when he grows up. What do you want to do when you grow up? Because you will always be Jules. You will always be you, and what you do does not define you. You are you. And so I sound like I'm Dr. Seuss a little bit here, right? But seriously, this is a concept.
Who is youer than you?
Just because you have a side hustle and you have this job, because you have 5 jobs, you need to figure out who you are and have the conversation about how you are and how all those things fit in to that identity.
Amen.
What a nice.
Amen.
There you go.
What a great.
That's the edge for the day. Thank you for finding your edge with us. Remember to comment, like, share.
If you have a side hustle, let us know what it is.
Let us know.
Let's go.
Because we buy.
We'll see you next time.